A big update here for the Apex Fusion ecosystem, which has its prime mainnet launch right around the corner. We've got over 150 stake pools up and running, with one of those being the Dapp Central stake pool. And as a part of today's video, I want to talk about their grand vision to merge the EVM and UTXO models, in addition to talking about their most recent updates, which includes more details about their mainnet launch and upcoming exchange listings. What's up, crypto gang? Welcome into Dapp Central, your home for everything blockchain and crypto. I'm your host, Fareed. As a part of today's update, we're diving into Apex Fusion and where they currently stand with the mainnet launch right around the corner. Now, this is a big opportunity. I'm going to be jumping in here as a stake pool operator. I'm going to be breaking down their latest progress, what we can expect moving forward, and then showcasing some of their latest updates when it comes to their block explorer, and then their launch and incentivization campaign for the launch or for the support of stake pool operators who want to join the network early on, or as OGs or just early adopters. So without any further ado, let's jump right on in here. And I've talked about Apex Fusion here on the channel a few times. I'll leave the links to those conversations down below to simplify everything here if you're playing catch up. But maybe let me just back up here. If it is your first time hearing about Apex, I realize there's a lot of new subscribers here on the channel. It's a blockchain that uses the core Cardano consensus protocol, also known as the Ouroboros liquid staking protocol. I believe it's Ouroboros Genesis right now, but it also ties in the EVM accounting model, in addition to adding support for the UTXO accounting model, which Cardano uses. So in a nutshell, it's tying together the best of two worlds, right? Allowing for account-based operations or protocols or projects to run, while also providing support for UTXO-based projects, for example, like those that people know from the Cardano ecosystem, to also be able to thrive. Now, there's going to be the underlying layer one, also known as the prime network. And then on top of that, you've got the two separate layer twos, or the additional layers operating on top of that layer one, which are Nexus and Vector, again, which provide that support for the EVM and the UTXO accounting models. So now that we've got the refresher out of the way, let's talk about some of the most recent news. The first is coming in here from their most recent update, or their most recent X-Space, about their prime mainnet progress in their SPO campaign. So first, we've got the fact that Prime, their core layer one, currently has over 144 active stake pools, which are achieving 4.8 to 5 blocks per minute. Now, I've actually jumped into some of their more recent stats here, which I'll also break down, but I believe as it currently stands, they're now up to 153 stake pools. So obviously they're growing. And while the mainnet launch hasn't been done officially, this shows that people are anticipating and eager to jump into their ecosystem and to provide that backbone, which, of course, just like with Cardano stake pools, is the key piece that any and every thriving ecosystem needs. Now, moving on, it states that the network remains stable with only minor dips due to high delegation activity, which the community has quickly resolved. Talking a little bit more about their infusion program and their stake pool operator incentives, they've now delegated their foundation rewards or awards to over 115 pools to boost decentralization. And this is basically for anybody who operated on their testnet and then also became a stake pool operator on the mainnet as a reward for helping them out during the testnet phase. I believe it's a 15% delegation or saturation amount of Apex, which has now been given to those early supporters and adopters. Now, having said that, if you aren't already a stake pool operator, you can still jump in there. You do have to provide a little bit more Apex to register your pool, but it is a opportune time or critical time to jump in there as a stake pool operator. If you have the means to operate a Cardano node, this will essentially function very similar to that. So again, this is just a shout out, or at least a message to SPOs out there. If you haven't already taken a look at Apex and what this particular network brings, it's at a very early stage with a lot of upside and a lot of growth yet to come. Now let's see here. In terms of exchange listings, this is extremely important. The Apex token is expected to be listed on centralized exchanges by mid to late February. As I'm shooting this video, it is the 12th of February, meaning that we should get some sort of official announcement, I would say within the next couple of days, if not by the end of this week. Now, from my understanding, there's going to be limited liquidity available early on, meaning that there is potential for upside, but of course, not financial advice. Make sure to do your own research and make sure to at least understand the tokenomics and the distribution investing schedules before investing in not just Apex, but anything within the blockchain and crypto space. Continuing on here with the updates, we've got community tools and contributions with the Monkey Pool building a real-time block explorer to improve transparency as it pertains to just the blockchain itself. And of course, I'm going to show off their blockchain explorer here in just a moment. Jumping over here, there is a brief article that I have to highlight about the fact that Apex is going to be regulatory compliant from the jump or from day one. And so this ties back into MiCA or MiCA, the Markets in Crypto Assets Regulation, which is basically a set of rules or guidelines within the European region that all projects or crypto-based platforms have to abide by in order to be listed or in order to have their token be tradable within exchanges and platforms in the European region. So there's been recent delistings, and the most recent one was from crypto.com having to delist USDT, which is by far one of the most needed features or one of the most needed assets in the crypto space when you're trying to transact, especially when you're onboarding, right? For example, if you're onboarding into Coinbase in the United States, you have to get USD, which then is transferred to USDC or USDT, which you can then transfer into whichever token you actually want to buy. So this is a critical piece here, but it shows two things. Number one, the European region is not scared to apply this rule to anybody. It's not just a pay to play sort of thing. But then number two, how important it is to actually be regulatory compliant in order to take advantage of the market share over in that area. Now, this actually ties back to a Cardano-based project as well, which is USDM, which is actually one of the first 3 stable coins to get approval in MiCA, or excuse me, in Europe, as it relates to the MiCA regulations or the MiCA law. But we're going to also see that Apex is now also MiCA compliant. So from a stablecoin perspective, USDC from Circle is compliant. USDM from the Cardano ecosystem is compliant. USDT appears to be going through some sort of issues right now, of course, with this delisting, but we also have Apex Fusion, which is now also compliant. So hopefully that gives you guys a little bit of context there. I just want to read 3 brief snippets and then we're going to keep the conversation moving. So it states here, with Europe's stablecoin regime under its market in crypto assets regulation or MiCA regulation now in full effect, Crypto.com became the latest cryptocurrency exchange to drop Tether's USDT from its Eurozone platform. Again, you can imagine that that makes a huge dent in their pocket when it comes to trading and fees and just accessibility, right? In onboarding for their customer base in that Eurozone. Now, continuing on, it states that to illustrate why implementing MiCA's regulation is beneficial to the EU, some experts cite Switzerland's technology-neutral legal framework, and that some proponents believe that this particular framework, perceived to accommodate new innovations without stifling growth, is by far one of the key reasons cryptocurrency companies have now flocked into the country. So tying this all back to Apex Fusion and their core beliefs, we've got the CEO of the Apex Foundation, which is Ivan, who states that at Apex, they believe that the future of blockchain lies in trust, transparency, and accessibility. That's why they've committed themselves to being compliant by design from the very start, and that by creating a neutral blockchain that supports compliance, they're empowering projects and businesses alike that wish to operate within a legal framework the ability to do so confidently on their Apex blockchain. So again, by far, one of the core things that you want to see being addressed by any network before launching. And of course, we've had Cardano, ETH, Solana, a lot of the major altcoins going through similar issues back when Gary Gensler was in charge of the SEC. Of course, with Trump being pro-crypto, the new crypto working order, and just the sentiment change, there's been less regulatory burdens or less regulatory headaches or concerns in the USA. But it's not just the USA that Apex is focused on. As we can clearly see, they're also trying to get adoption there in that Eurozone. Let's move things over and just briefly review some of their most recent stats. So again, we've got 153 stake pools live online. Their reputation system beta with over 430 users. their Telegram app with nearly 28,000 users. And then we've got their Telegram community continuing to grow, as well as their X, Discord, and LinkedIn. Now let's take a look here at the actual Blockchain Explorer. I'll leave the link to this down below. But here we've got a dashboard of the latest transactions within the last 24 hours. Of course, because the mainnet launch hasn't been official, there's not a lot of activity here, especially on the Prime L1. But once we get Vector Nexus up and running, we'd expect to see a lot more activity and a lot more projects thriving in terms of transactions, smart contracts, etc., going on there. Now, right below, we've got information here about the actual blockchain itself. So we can view things based on a per epoch basis. We can dive into the specifics around different blocks, transactions, and then stake pools down here. Now, this is where things get interesting. There's also a stake pool link, which was shared with me here, which I had the opportunity to share with you guys. And this is a visual explorer for all of the different stake pools currently hosted on the mainnet right now for the Prime network. So I can actually select any of these here. And let me just quickly click on this one. Let's see if I can actually get some of the information to pop up. And so there on the left-hand side, I can see that, I've got all the information about the crypt pool. Let's actually select this happy pool up here. I can then see all the details there. And I actually see Dapp. Is that it right there? Let's see. There we go. We've got the Dapp stake pool. And of course, again, I've got all of my information listed here. And so really interesting to see that this is finally coming to life. And of course, again, diving back into the Explorer, we've got the Dapp Central Stake Pool, the ticker, of course, Dapp, just like on Cardano, the number of delegators, the pledge, the fixed fee margin, lifetime blocks, all of that good stuff here is being included. And I was thankful enough, or I'm grateful enough to be included as a part of the early adopters, where I've now been able to gather or gain that 15% delegation. So again, if you're a stake pool operator, make sure to jump in there. I've got my wallet here where I can actually see my rewards have started coming in, very similar to Cardano staking rewards. Now, something interesting that I've also seen has been mentions here of the Skyline Bridge. And so with the core infrastructure and just how Apex is built, there's the Prime network, which is that core layer one. And then on top of that, you got Vector and Nexus. And there's the Reactor Bridge, which essentially allows for Apex to be moved from the Prime network into either of the two layer twos. Now, it seems like there's also now either been a rebrand or in addition to the Reactor Router Bridge, which is now the Skyline Bridge. So it states here that the goal of the Skyline Bridge is to seamlessly connect the UTXO and EVM ecosystems, unlocking true cross-chain capabilities for DeFi NFTs and beyond. Jumping over to the official website, looks like it's a relatively new website here. They've got mentions of course, some of their core benefits, and then they've got some of the leading blockchains that they're working with, which of course include Apex, Cardano, ETH, and Eternal. And I'm not sure what that middle logo is there, but of course, again, it seems like they are going to be working very closely with the Apex team in order to get their bridge up and running. We've got some content coming in here from their official Twitter. Still seems relatively young, but it looks like they're going to be onboarding into the Apex Telegram app, where you can then complete quests or different challenges and objectives in order to earn rewards once these Apex features all come live on the mainnet. As we get ready to close things out here, I do want to briefly highlight the fact that they have what they call their Fusing the Unfusable series, which are basically sit downs with the core contributors and founders of the Apex blockchain. And so there's been 2 episodes that have recently been released. One sitting down with Jerry, the co-founder of Apex Fusion and the CEO of HAL8, in addition to one that was just most recently released, which is sitting down with Armando Science, the co-founder of Apex Fusion and the chief business officer of HAL8. So again, I'll leave the links to those down below. Make sure to check those out if you have any questions. But that'll bring me here to the end for today's update, breaking down the recent news around Apex Fusion and what we can expect here when it comes to their mainnet launch, Prime already being up and running. If you're a stake pool operator that is already operating in Cardano, this is an opportunity to earn in addition to what's already being done in the Cardano ecosystem. And keep in mind that with Apex, you're starting where the interest or the emissions rate is at the very maximum, right? So Cardano staking rewards currently at roughly around 2.5%. But with Apex, if I'm not mistaken, staking rewards will start at 10%. So it's going to be much more yield or much more interest in terms of earnings for a stake pool operator perspective. And again, no pressure, but I want to be transparent saying the fact that I, as a stake pool operator in Cardano, will also be operating as a stake pool operator within the Apex ecosystem. We also briefly touched on the upcoming exchange listings and then sort of what has been going on here as of late. So again, if you guys have found this particular update to be helpful, please smash that thumbs up on the way out. I really do appreciate it. If it's your first time stopping by the channel and you want more content just like this, consider subscribing to the channel. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to leave those down below. That said, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.